Get cool stuff for what you were going to do anyway. Drink beer. With Buy Beer, Get Gear from Labatt, you can just snap a photo of your receipt and upload it to the website to rack up points for exclusive merch. Get points for every purchase, whether you're grabbing a pint on draft, a case for a party, or a tall boy at the stadium. Any size, any product, anywhere you buy Labatt. Buy beer, get gear. Sign up now at rewards.labattusa.com.
What's up?
Congrats on the win.
Thanks, Steve. Where Paulie at?
Here we go.
I'm checking out. I will respond to you, but I'm done for the week. I'm done.
Steve is my favorite part of the show. How's that?
I like that. Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Check for sound.
Pleasure to be on there talking with Paulie, man. He's a good dude.
I'm an idiot. I'll just shut up and let you talk. I was trying to help.
And shout out to Tupac.
3, 2, 1, and
This is Orange Nation.
Well, hello, Paulie and Steve.
With Steve Infanti and Paulie Sibilia.
Steve is doing a live hit for News Channel 9 right now. You just got me for first 5 minutes of the show. Orange Nation, we are efforting Jim Boeheim today, guest-wise. Steve spoke to Kevin Connors. We will get him on. But the big news today, something we knew was coming probably since the North Carolina loss. Syracuse has parted ways with Adrian Autry, his staff, the GM. Everybody's gone. It's going to be a reboot. The search is on for a new head coach, and I'm sure it's been going on. And I don't know how much you can contact coaches and whatnot while a season is going on, but the good news is there's a lot of good coaches out there. There's some that are family, some that are not, and I know that's a polarizing thing. We will take your calls all afternoon, 315-437-7644, and we would like to hear from you on this. We have heard from you a lot, and it was just a matter of time. This isn't like breaking news. It's the slowest breaking news of all time. And it happened. It didn't work the way Coach Autry wanted it. It didn't. There was things working for him with the name of Syracuse. There were things working against him in the NIL era. Yeah, I know nobody wants to hear it, but Syracuse has to get better in the NIL era for the next coach also. It's a problem. And we'll talk about all these things. But Steve had a chance to speak with Kevin Connors of ESPN about the coaching change. He spent about 5 minutes with him. We'll listen. We'll hear that now. We'll come back. Steve and I will break down the coaching change amongst us after that.
We continue our coverage on the firing of Adrian Autry by bringing in ESPN's Kevin Connors now. And Kevin, I know you follow this program very closely. Let's start with the news today, news that we've been expecting for a while now. Adrian Autry out after 3 years as head coach. What went wrong here in your opinion?
Steve, it's a great question. And I'm of a certain age where I'm old enough to know what Adrian Autry meant to the program as a player. When he committed out of high school in New York City, I believe it was Tallentine High School, and what he meant to the program as a player and as an assistant to Jim Boeheim. And I know how hard he worked as a head coach. I think ultimately it came down to the timing of things. When he got the job compared to when NIL started to explode, I think it's a money situation. And I think, not to say that Syracuse basketball didn't have money, because they're, as I understand it, middle of the pack in the ACC in terms of NIL. I think to a degree it's how money was spent, certainly this season. But I think it's kind of a confluence of things where other programs have made the decision to strongly commit. I think Syracuse has kind of been in that in-between level up until this season. The bottom line is he's meant a lot to the Syracuse basketball program. The change needed to happen.
And along those lines, Kevin, Autry took over a program, as you mentioned, that had missed out on the NCAA tournament each of Jim Boeheim's final 2 seasons as head coach. So it's not a 3-year drought, it's a 5-year drought, as you well know. How about the overall state of this program? Head coach aside, when you take into account everything else, you mentioned it there, NIL, resources, facilities, fan base, all of that. Is this still a very attractive job in your mind, or do you have some concerns about the ability to win here in Syracuse?
Steve, I've asked that question to many of our analysts, many of whom are former head coaches, and I've gotten a mixed bag of answers. Here's my answer. Yes, Syracuse still is a marquee job. When that program is winning, unlike almost any other program in college basketball, you can get 25, 30,000 fans in the building. Now, having said that, whoever the head coach is going to be, and I know you have some ideas, and I have some ideas, and I don't know if either one of us are even in the ballpark. I think we might be. It's going to come down to the commitment from the athletic department and the university. And a lot of people have said, this is a time right now where there's just so much turmoil at the school. I view this as an incredible opportunity. We've hired a new chancellor. You've got an opportunity to hire a great athletic director here and a great head coach. The question's going to be, is that level of commitment financially going to be there for both the football team and the basketball team? There are not a ton of examples where football and basketball both have worked at Power 4 schools. So we'll see if it can happen at Syracuse. I absolutely still think that this is a marquee job. You're at a Power 4 conference. You've got a program that's got history. Is the financial commitment going to be there? And that's going to dictate almost everything.
So in terms of what's next, Kevin, there has been a very polarizing debate going on here for the last several weeks and months, for that matter, whether the next head coach should come from inside the Syracuse basketball family, like Jerry McNamara, Mike Hopkins, or outside the family, like a Brian Hodgson down in South Florida. Do you have a strong feeling on what you think the university should do and how you think it might play out?
I have never, Steve, never understood why it has to be a insert team guy. I understand that there might be an understanding of the program and the history of the program, and that's great. Danny Hurley's not a UConn guy. Todd Golden is not a Florida guy, okay? And those guys win championships. So to me, it needs to be the best candidate right now. I love Jerry McNamara, and I love everything he meant to that program, and I think he could be a guy that could be the next head coach at Syracuse for the next 40 years. This is not a loaded statement. I don't know if he's the guy right now. Brian Hodgson won 45 games at Arkansas State. In 1 year at USF, he won the American regular season championship. He would seem to be a coach positioned to win at Syracuse now. He's an upstate New York guy, Western New York guy. Again, that's not to say that I endorse him over Jerry McNamara. I think Jerry could be great. I think Josh Schertz could be great. I think Mike Hopkins could do a really good job. But if you're asking me, does it need to be a Syracuse guy? My answer is no. It needs to be the right guy who can win right now, because if you don't get this one right, you're even farther behind the 8 ball.
All right, Kevin, last one for you. We both grew up on Syracuse basketball, being in the tournament every year, going to the Sweet 16 most years, Final Fours about once a decade. How confident are you, and I know we just touched on this a moment ago, but how confident are you that this program can get back to that, again, year in and year out, getting to the tournament and Sweet 16s on a regular basis?
Steve, look at what Louisville did when they hired Pat Kelsey. I mean, that program, I think they won 4 games, and I think it was 2-3 years ago that they won 4 games. And Pat Kelsey and a financial commitment has them back to being one of the best teams in the ACC. It's the cut both ways nature of NIL. It's like you're never out of it. I mean, you can get back in it very, very quickly. I do think that Syracuse needs to get things going back in the right direction so that it doesn't feel like an outpost among college basketball programs. I do think, given where it's located, the JMA Wireless Dome, the Carmelo Anthony Center, what Melo's influence on the program is and can continue to be, I think it's absolutely a winnable job, and I think you can get turned around pretty quickly there with the right financial commitment and the right head coach. I think it's a golden opportunity for the program. I don't view this as a dire situation. I view this as a great opportunity to have the program reborn.
Great perspective, Kevin. Great insight. I appreciate you squeezing us in. I know you're awfully busy today covering the Big 12 tournament down there in Kansas City. Thanks so much for the time. We do appreciate it.
Anytime, Steve. Great to talk to you.
All right, that was Steve. And Steve is better. Look at Steve. Look, he looks sharp, Steve.
Paulie, we good now? Okay. I can hear. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Excellent.
I am efforting Jim Boeheim. I shot him a text. Okay. First time I've ever texted him in my life, even though we're best friends. So we'll see how that goes over. You know, the one thing that comes out of this is, like, there's a lot of good coaches out there. Hodgson's a good coach. Jerry's a good coach. The bottom line, like, I know people don't want to hear this, is NIL. This year's budget was probably at best a bubble team, and didn't get there, and he's fired. You've got to be better than 8-9 mil unless they cap it. So there's something that's got to be done.
Yeah, and did you hear what he said, Kevin, just a moment ago about, you know, where Syracuse falls in the pecking order? You know, his understanding, and listen, he's part of the national media, right? And he's got a lot of contacts in the industry, both with coaches and analysts, and he puts Syracuse at middle of the pack right now in the ACC, as we have said, and that does seem like that is a big factor in all this, a big component in all this that. We've been saying it for weeks, Paulie. You're not just going to snap your fingers and Syracuse is back in the Sweet 16. It's going to take the coach, but it's also going to take the commitment from the university in the way of resources, finances, facilities, all of that to get this program back to where it once was. And I don't think there's any question that Syracuse was slow in the transition into the NIL era, and it happened to correlate with when Adrian Autry took over as head coach. I do agree with Kevin in that the timing was unfortunate. Adrian Autry spoke to that both on Saturday after the Pitt game and last night after the SMU game, that, again, not excuses, but, the timing was such that not only is he stepping in and, taking over for a legend and a first-time head coach and all of that, but, NIL was thrown on his plate as well, and the university. And, again, that's his job, and he was slow to he was slow to transition into that era. The university as a whole was as well, and the wins and losses just weren't there. And this year we felt like they had the resources, they had the talent to get to the tournament or at least be on the bubble, and it didn't happen. And that's why his fate was sealed the way that it was.
Yeah, it's amazing that $8 million isn't, if that's the right number, isn't enough.
Yeah,
to build a good basketball team. And this is a good team. It's not a great team, but middle of the pack ACC, if you think that's going to get you to the Final Four or to the glory days of Syracuse again, it's not.
Here's the thing, Paul.
Your coach has to punch up every year at that level. And I don't know if Syracuse can even get to the levels of the Dukes, the Virginias, the, Louisville's. It's something's got to be done.
Here's the thing about $8 million is that, should that be enough to make the tournament? I think we would all agree yes.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. But what it does, and we've discussed this, is that you can't have any misses. And coming into this year, I think we all thought, and Matt Park said it yesterday, is like, we all collectively thought, everyone thought that the foundation of JJ and Donnie coming back was a good thing. And then bringing in the assist leader in the conference, that was a good thing. And those three guys were supposed to be the three best players on this team. And if we're being honest, you go down one by one, and, they had moments, but I think you would say all three kind of failed to live up to the expectation of what we thought they would be. Mm-hmm. And with $8 million, you can't have misses. And you certainly can't miss, in that way with your three best players.
And if you're the coach, you've got to get the best out of those players.
Correct.
And Red did not.
Correct. Absolutely. And this is not meant to be an excuse by any means. It's Red's job to get the best out of those guys. And, those were the three best players that he picked. And, it didn't work out. But it does leave very little margin for error. If you miss on one of your top players, in the middle of the pack in the ACC and NIL, that could be an uphill battle. You have your top 3 fail to live up to expectations. That's a problem. And again, that does go back to the head coach, and ultimately it falls on him, and that's why he's out of a job.
Yeah, and the new AD coming in is got to figure this NIL era out. The Syracuse, I don't know that they didn't set Red up to win. I don't think they were prepared to set Red up to win. And maybe he should have been ahead of that and on the AD about it. Hey, we're not keeping up with our competitors. There's a lot of blame to go around for where Syracuse basketball is right now.
Yeah, I think they were prepared to win this year. I think the last 2 years there are a lot of reasons why it didn't look great. And this year I think they should have been ready to win. I think they felt like they were ready to win. They had the GM in place, the schedule that they handpicked, the roster that they wanted. They got more money to field a competitive team, and it didn't translate. And we knew this was a make or break year, and it didn't work out.
This year, there's no excuse for this team not being closer to 20 wins. That's on Red.
Right.
What they did to Red last year, that was a problem.
Yeah.
And it's a fresh start. There's people
for everybody.
Yeah, you got to get it right this time. I don't know who the coach is going to be, but they just got to get the right guy.
Yeah. Let's go to the phone lines, Paulie. Let's get Ryan in Virginia here in the first segment. Ryan, what's going on?
Steve, Paulie, take a wild guess who I would like to advocate for as the next head coach.
My guess is you're going to talk about the man who won last night, the MAC conference title, and is heading to the tournament with Siena.
MAC won the MAC in impressive fashion. Siena hadn't made a NCAA tournament in 16 years. More on MAC in a second, because I think this choice is clear, and I'll get to that in a second. But I do have a question. You just mentioned the GM. Does that mean like everyone's gone now that Autry is officially fired? Does that mean the GM's gone as well?
There are reports out there. John Rothstein, I saw others reporting that Alex Klein is out as well.
Okay, so all right. I know some of these that whole setup and who reports to who is interesting. I know football with Stanford. I think Andrew Luck is the GM. I think everyone reports to him, but it sounds like in this case that the GM reported to Autry.
I mean, that is my understanding. As you said, I think that's an inside baseball type question for the specific programs or specific teams you're talking about. But that would make sense to me.
Okay. Well, I mean, did you guys see the game last night, the Siena game?
I watched the whole thing. Yep.
It's impressive. I mean, first time in 16 years that Siena had made a tournament. He did it in 23 months. He got the job less than 2 years ago. 7 scholarship players is what I heard the commentary saying that Siena had. They had a kid ruled ineligible, and if Siena didn't win, then, I'm sure there's always excuses when something doesn't work out. But then when a guy wins and they win at a high level, and he won by double digits against a really good Merrimack team, he's just getting started, McNamara is. And he is an institutional fit for Syracuse. I think McNamara is going to win no matter where he goes. If Providence offers him the job and, if he takes it there, he's going to win at Providence. He is a winner, and he's been a winner for 20 years, and nobody fits this job better than McNamara. He was smart with how he put together his staff. He got a head coach, Ryan Blackwell. I know he was at the high school level, but I think one thing that's getting lost in all of this, you've seen examples of coaches who, at the lower levels made their – look at Kurt Signetti. He doesn't get a Power 5 job until he's, 60 years old, worked his way from the lower levels. This narrative that, he did it at Siena, but he can't do it at a Power 5, it's ridiculous. He's the guy. I know that sounds very opinionated. I know I've been saying that for weeks. I just can't think of a better fit for Syracuse. And here's another thing. He would stay. If you hire another guy, McNamara would stay at Syracuse. I think they need to hire a guy that's not just going to be a good coach, but be a legacy coach and a guy that could stay there, not for 5 years, not for 10 years, but hopefully an entire career. And the last thing I'd like to add, in his post-game press conference, McNamara showed a ton of humility. He was giving credit to everyone else. He said that he'd been blessed to be surrounded by great people, great players, great assistant coaches. Some of these other names that have been mentioned, you don't get that same type of humility that you've always seen with Jerry from the time he was a player from the time he won the national championship, from the time he won the Big East tournament with a stress fracture, from the time two Final Fours as an assistant coach. As a famous man once said, Jim Boeheim, who I don't think ever got enough credit for what he did at Syracuse. This isn't a chemistry lab, Paulie. Let's get the right guy in. Let's get Jerry in. That's all I got.
All right, Ryan, appreciate you checking in. A lot there. I will say this. Ryan said it's an easy decision. I don't think it's an easy decision. Now, it's hard to argue with the points that he brought up. I will say this. Having watched a lot of Siena basketball this year, they are a well-coached team. I don't know if you happened to watch the game last night, Paulie, but they popped a stat up late in the game that Siena, at the time, was 22-0 this year, now 23-0 when leading with 5 minutes to go. And that game got a little dicey. They had a big lead. Merrimack, put a press on, started coming back. They cut it to a possession or two, and then Siena hung on down the stretch. They are a well-coached team. Jerry is a winner. Like, those things, you can't debate those things. I disagree with Ryan about it being an easy decision, and I've said this before. I think Jerry, let me put it this way. I think Jerry will be the head coach of Syracuse someday. I don't think it's him this time around, and I think they're going to bring somebody else in, and if it goes poorly, he's probably the next guy if he continues to win, and I expect that he will. If it goes well and, that guy stays for a little bit and then moves on, it could be Jerry after that. I think Jerry set himself up for success at Siena. He had a plan. He has executed that plan beautifully. I think wherever he goes next, whether it's stay at Siena for another year or two or go somewhere else, I think he will make sure that it's a place he feels as though he can win, and I do think he will win. He is a winner, and that is, you can't debate that. I just don't think it's going to be him this time around. I could be wrong, and obviously his profile has gone up now across the country after winning that game last night. But I think he will be the head coach at Syracuse someday. I just don't think that it's this time around.
I don't know about that, Steve. I think I don't know if he's the right guy this year, but if they don't get him this time and he goes somewhere else in the Power Four, he's not going to be Syracuse's head coach ever.
I don't know about that.
If he wins somewhere else, the money's not going to match. And he's going to probably have better, it depends on where he goes.
Well, you say if he goes somewhere else in the Power Four, if he goes, for the sake of argument, let's throw Providence into the mix there because, it's not a Power Four school per se, but it's Big East. If he goes to, I don't think he's taking the BC job, but if he went to Pittsburgh or BC, Providence and won, and then the job opened at Syracuse, you don't think he would want to come back?
He skipped over me twice. Nope. I would, and I think that if he wins it, I think if he wins at Providence, BC, or those are the two I would say are most realistic. If he wins there, someone bigger than Syracuse would come calling if a job opens.
And that could be, and I'm seeing some comments in the chat like Steve wants a placeholder coach. This isn't one about what I want. This is about what I think. And what I think is, we've all lived this the last few months with, they have to go outside the. I think there is some pressure on the Hill to go and get a fresh start.
I think they will.
You think they'll get a fresh start?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there is a good chance of that, which is why I'm saying I don't think Jerry is the guy this time around. But if you watch Siena basketball and you watch him coach and you watch, again, the things that he says in the interview he did on ESPN he is a head coach and he is a successful head coach and he's going to be a successful head coach for a very long time. And I do think that this being his alma mater and what he feels about this place, I could very well, and he's such a young guy, I could very well see this being a destination for him at some point. I think there's a lot of pressure on the Hill for them to go elsewhere. So again, this is not about what I want. This is about what I think they are going to do.
I saw someone in the chat just said, I seem PO'd, Steve, that they're going outside the family. I don't care who they get. I really don't. They just got to get it right. We're ready to take our first time out, Steve.
Yeah, that was a long segment, but for good reason. That was our opening drive brought to you by Burdick BMW of Cicero. We've got a few callers sitting on hold. We'll get to those phone calls next. We're back after this on ESPN Radio.
I got to address something in the chat. Gaper, are you stupid? Do you think I really thought that Siena had a $9 million NIL? I said that because Orange Fizz said Duke's NIL was at that level.
No. Really?
I gotta go see if I can find Coach Boeheim.
I've heard from multiple people in the industry that it's between 15 and 20 for Duke.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Without a doubt. So honest question. I'm curious about this. Honest question. If they were to hire Jerry, do you think what percentage of the fan base would you say would be pleased with that versus throw up their hands and be upset about that? I'm curious what you guys think. LA Orange, you can keep asking the question over and over. Who do you think is pressuring for an outsider? 95% would be pleased with Jerry. I strongly disagree with that.
Coach Boeheim will join us after halftime of this game.
Where's the game? It's what is it? Probably it started at noon.
5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about 5 minutes till. We'll get them probably around between 1:30 and 2. I'm guessing.
Yeah, Dilemma Q's, I'm with you. I think it's close to 50-50. San Diego, yeah, 50-50. I'm with you guys. It's 50-50. Yes.
Coach actually reached out to us. Thank you. He knows where he needs to get his message heard from the great Paulie Sibyl. I want the right coach, you dumbass. Hodgson could keep Cayenne, guys. Why are we worried about keeping, like, the next coach is going to keep the players that he thinks can help him win. And it doesn't matter if he's in-house or out-of-house.
So, Paulie, coach is going to come, like, right next to you and be on camera and whatnot?
I'm going to move the camera over. He's going to come sit next to him.
Awesome. Great. Thank you.
Have I apologized to who? What is Jerry? Did you watch the game last night? What did you see that was anything like Jim Boeheim's basketball last night? This myth that everybody wins at Siena, they haven't been to the tournament since 2010. To listen for being right? I don't know what that means. I haven't once said Red should not be fired, Griffin. I just said they weren't going to do it till after the season. Everybody was saying, "Do it now." Did it hurt your feelings that they waited till they got back from their flight and then they did it? Who's the artist of the day?
87.7 and 100.1. Watch live on QSportsTalk.com. This is Orange Nation.
Yeah. Who's board hopping today? Me or
when you're alone Women seem wicked.
The Doors are the artists of the day.
Streets are uneven.
Steve, I cracked a joke yesterday on Twitter, and people took me seriously that I said Sienna had $9 million of NIL. I don't think the average fan, most of my NIL information I get is not from people at Syracuse. It's from people I talk to on the road here. I know the other play-by-play guys. I know the other engineers. I know the other, beat writers. That's who I get my information from. And if anybody thinks that Syracuse is anywhere near one of the top 4 teams in NIL and the ACC, they're bonkers. It's and you can see it in the standings, just the drop off. Will Wade's done a good job at NC State, but he still isn't there, talent wise, with those other guys. It's a problem for all of college basketball.
Yeah, and you do wonder, and I know we've talked about this on the show quite a bit, about how long does this go on for before some limits are set, or there's a salary cap, or how long does this go on where the price tag just keeps going up and up and up? And I don't know the answer to that, but it's certainly different now, and Syracuse has to get a handle on the finances and on NIL in order to compete and get back to where everybody wants this program to be.
Yeah. And is $8 million enough to get you to the tournament? I would hope so. They didn't get there this year. Red is no longer the coach.
Let's go to the phone lines, Paulie. We've got a couple people who want to check in. Vito has been waiting patiently. Vito, what's going on?
Hey, guys. Yeah, so I want to talk about GMAC real quick, and I would like a little time to give you my thoughts on NIL with how it relates to Syracuse. So last night, what I saw was GMAC barking orders out all game long, giving instructions to his players all game long. Same thing with Hodgson. He does the same thing. I didn't catch that a lot from Autry all season long. He would be sitting on the bench, and I just feel like, when you listen to him speak, there was talk on the boards last night about communicating what you want your players to do. I don't think, a lot of people talk about Autry. They say he's not very intelligent. They think he's not. I'm not in that camp. I think he's a very intelligent basketball player, but he has a problem communicating what he wants his players to do. And you can hear that when he speaks. As far as Hodgson and GMAC, I don't think GMAC, it's 3 years. He's at a mid-major. They projected Siena to finish second. They finished third in the regular season, not too far off. 4 wins to what they are at now this year in the span of 3 years is amazing, and he's done an amazing.
It's 2 years. Yeah. 2 years, yeah.
Done an amazing job. You can't deny that. I agree with you, Steve, though. I just don't think it's his time. Real quick on NIL. I think the NCAA just allowed it to become the wild, wild west because they were getting sued left and right. Ed O'Bannon started this whole thing. Did you guys, when you're talking about $8 million, do you realize the absurdity of nothing against you guys, just the state of the issue? Do you realize the absurdity of that $8 million and it's not enough?
Yeah.
Right.
And and when you guys were saying that, I knew that figure, but to hear it, it's just absurd. And for a school like Syracuse as well, to not be able to compete with the other ones that are used, that have $20 million available. I just think that they need to. It's what is it? 20. The NCAA is afraid of what? 20 or 30 players, superstar players that will go to the NBA if they don't earn enough at this level. Tough. You know what? Put a cap in at not even $1 million. Who cares? And you allow a giant payment maybe to one player. That's $500,000. And if they don't want to play in the NCAA, so be it. But you can't let the sport become the wild, wild west the way it is because of 20 or 30 players, superstar players that will go to the next level. I just think it's absurd at this point. They need a cap, but they know what they're doing. They're not putting a cap in place. They wanted it to become like this because they're getting sued. But they get free room and board, free tuition. That's enough in my book. This is out of hand at this point. But thanks, guys.
Yeah, I'm old school, Steve. I think they should probably just find out what the median salary is in the country and give that to everyone that's a football, basketball. What's that? Probably $60,000, $65,000 a year. You're getting a free education. You give that to everybody at the big, at the women's basketball, men's basketball, football, and then you go from there.
Brings up the question, though, about the star player, right? And people were cheating before, and then all that's going to happen is people are going to start cheating again, right? And they're going to find ways to get the star quarterback more money.
But that's where you've got to be. Like right now, you've taken the cheating out, but you've taken the balance out. So you've got to be able to punish people. Like they can't punish people right now because they're they're toothless. So they got to they got to bring that back somehow.
Easier said than done. I don't know how they go about putting the genie back in the bottle, as the analogy goes. Let's go to Tony in North Carolina. He's been patiently waiting as well. Tony, what's going on today? Thanks for waiting.
Thank you so much. I just want to start out by saying we do have to think about Autry, the coaching staff, and their families. This affects a lot of people. Unfortunately, things like this happen, and you have to think about that there's a lot of people involved here. I take my hat off to him. He's been great at press conferences, not very fiery, but been great. And now we have to move on. Coaching search, to me, it's whoever is the most qualified person that could turn this program around, whether that be in family or outside. And the other thing with NIL, the current status, the state that the NIL is in today, I don't think that is sustainable for the long run. I think there needs to be some major changes in that because, we're just going to have money after money after money thrown at the skies, and it becomes just completely out of whack. And I don't know how competitive the teams that will not have that money would be. And right now, you're going to see just teams on the top. If we keep going this way, they're going to be able to compete at that level. And thank you for taking my call. I appreciate that. And you guys have a great day.
All right, Tony. Thanks for checking in. And you're right, Tony, about families are involved and people are involved, and we've said that. Yes, this is Sports Talk Radio, and we talk about what's going to come next and why he lost his job and all that. But yes, to that point, he played here. He was a star here. He coached here for a long time under Jim Boeheim. He was the head coach at his alma mater. Nobody wanted to succeed more than he did, and it didn't work out. Everybody's disappointed. Everybody's frustrated. But yes, there are people involved, families involved. It's an emotional day on the Hill for those people. And Red's always been a good guy, and you don't like to see bad things happen to good people. So with that being said, you wish them well. You hope they all land on their feet, and you hope that there are good things ahead for them, and you hope that there are good things ahead for Syracuse basketball, Paulie.
Yeah, and I've been saying that since day one. Like in the people on Twitter in that call into this show so angry. Red's daughter's on the Lax team. His kids went to high school here. This isn't New York City. Yeah. This isn't the NFL. This isn't NBA where you're in some large city. His family grew up here. He wanted to succeed. It didn't work out. I wish it had.
Yeah.
And it didn't. And it doesn't work out for a lot of people at their jobs, so they get fired. And it's not fun for anybody, no matter how much money you make in the job. You want to be good at your job, and it sucks. It does. No, getting fired isn't fun. It's nothing to celebrate. You celebrate when they get the new coach and the fresh start happens. You don't celebrate the actual coach getting fired.
Correct. I brought this up yesterday off air. I'll throw it in here right now on air. As I was preparing for Red's firing and kind of getting a piece together, looking back on his career and everything, his playing days, him as an assistant, him as a head coach. I came across a stat, Paulie. 4 players in the history of Syracuse basketball scored at least 1,500 points, had at least 600 assists, had at least 200 steals. Adrian Autry is on that list, one of 4. It's him, it's Jerry McNamara, it's Jason Hart, it's Sherman Douglas. He was a great player here. Hopefully, people will remember that someday, and he can come back with his head held high, back to the program and watch a game and be welcomed back, into this family. But it is unfortunate what's happened for him and his family. Yeah,
he shouldn't be unwelcome.
Correct. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. Right now it's tough, though. Right now it's a lot of hard feelings right now.
Yeah, no. People should be wishing him the best.
Of course.
And come on, grow up.
Of course. I'm with you on that. All right, let's get one more phone call in this segment. Jay in Baldwinsville up next on the show. Jay, what's going on?
Hey, Steve, how you doing? Listen, and everything you said about Red is right about being a good guy, hard worker, but he just leaves you exasperated at times. Like I called in a couple days ago talking about sometimes, Steve, you act as like an interpreter or whatever. Yeah. Nothing could be more of a yin and yang situation than yesterday because it happened on the same day. If you go to Red's if you go to his ACC postgame and they asked him about kind of saying, hey, what have you learned? What over your years? What have you do differently? And the first thing he says out of his mouth is, I didn't realize it was going to be so hard or difficult, or how much time you need to communicate with your coaches and do these other things. And you're scratching your head going, huh? What do you mean? You didn't realize the job was going to be difficult? And then you go to Jerry McNamara's post-game talk, and they had him on the national. And that's why he's gaining traction. He spoke so well on the ESPN when they cut to him and talked to him for like 2-3 minutes on the court, and they asked him basically the same question about your journey and what you learned. And right off the bat, he fires off with saying, well, if anybody knows me, I love the grind. I like working behind the scenes. I like developing the kids. And to be honest with you guys, to me, there it was right there. So after today, I'm not really going to, I wish Red luck and everything else like that, and I'm not going to perseverate on him and keep talking about him and what he did wrong. But to me, if you play those two clips, kind of like the dueling banjos, of what his answer was about what he learned, and you're thinking to yourself, and again, in the Syracuse community, you're looking at a guy that made just south of $1.8 million a year in 2023. I don't know what he's making now. Got to be the same. And the first thing out of his mouth is he didn't realize how hard and how much time it was going to take. So that's when you that's when you go to the Red interpretation. I think what he meant was this. Yeah. And that's what the frustrating is, Steve, to be honest with you. But if you play those two interviews, dueling banjos, first Red, and they basically ask the same question, and that's what you got. And I think that kind of just sums it all up and ties it in a bow. Yeah. And now we just move on. But to me, that was it last night. I just went voila.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I appreciate you checking in, Jay. I understand what you're saying. I'm not sure there's ever been an interview or a press conference that Jerry McNamara has not won, Paulie, in terms of...
But yeah, it's easier to do that interview. Like, Red knew he was fired already. Like, you got to give the guy a little grace in that situation.
And again, Jay, forgive me here, but I'm going to jump in with what I think he was trying to say was, as he took over the job, I think when he got the job, he didn't realize how much college athletics had changed. Would change, was going to change. He talked about, him and other colleagues in the industry, like even 3 years, like you knew NIL was a thing, but to see how far it's come and where it is now, again, I think that's what he was referring to, that I didn't realize how hard it was going to be to win, at Syracuse, because it used to be you bring in kids from high school, you develop them, they're by the time they're juniors and seniors, now you've got yourself like an Aton Thomas on your hands, or Rakeem Christmas, or, whoever the case may be, insert player here, and you supplement that with freshman talent, and now you got something. And as he said yesterday in his press conference, Paulie, those things don't matter anymore. It doesn't matter about developing guys or bringing in star freshmen, because it's a brand new roster every year. So again, forgive me, Jay, but I do think that's kind of what he was trying to say.
That is exactly what he said. He said, I thought I could build this team this year. I could make it grow in 1 year, is the way I took it. Like, I could bring these guys in. I brought in guys I thought we could grow, and it didn't happen.
It didn't work. Right.
Yeah, it's got to. Yeah, and this is a thing where I don't know the background of Hodgson and his expertise in NIL, and I don't know that Jerry's ready for it.
Yeah, it is a big jump, right? It's going from Siena to Syracuse. That is a big jump, and that's.
I mean, they have 9 million, Steve.
I saw that on the internet. Must be true. Must be true. All right, let's take a quick time out here. 315-437-7644. If you're on hold, stay on hold. We'll get to more phone calls next on ESPN Radio.
This is our.
How's everybody doing? Gabriel, you're the cornball because you are listening to a website that thought that Duke had $9 million of NIL, and you believe them over what I said, dummy. I'm good today. You guys are all so friendly. Yeah, my tweet was a joke, you stupid idiot. Hey, what's up, Govindo?
So we're a segment behind.
You know, I just don't want to do this today. I can assure you, Coach Autry isn't jumping up and down on this headlines, but he called out plays. I sit right behind him. He didn't just roll the ball out there and it just didn't work, guys. You're not smarter than coaches. I'm sorry. Oh, they have 10 million NIL? I was wrong. I apologize.
Hey, Paulie, let me jump in here for a second. How do you want to handle the situation we're in at the moment? So it's 45. We've got a caller on hold. Do you want to take the caller, bring on Lee Baldwin, just go to the top of the hour and be a segment behind? Or do you want to take the caller, take a break? And I just don't want to keep Boeheim waiting. What's that?
Well, yeah, he's not even here yet. So, do you mind if we go a little long today if we have to?
No, I don't care.
We'll just keep going. Let people call in, let them vent, let them do what they want, pile on, whatever.
All right. Are you okay to stay on for 5 minutes afterwards and do the Orange Nation thing, or would you prefer not?
I have diarrhea whenever the show ends.
That's what I was expecting.
I have a stomach bug as soon as the show ends. I got to drive home immediately after. I stayed to do this show with you, Steve, because you asked me.
Okay. All right. I'll do it by myself. Fine. I'll do it by myself.
Jerry is a better speaker than Red. If Red won, nobody would care how his press conferences went. He didn't win. He got fired. Stop nitpicking. If Red had won and this team was going to the tournament, nobody would be complaining about his press conferences. Riders. I'm not upset. Yeah, Steve, my stomach is upset already. Goodbye.
Okay.
I don't know who had, what do I feel about donors having, I don't know that donors have a voice or how much everybody's voice is. I can assure you they're not reading Twitter and going, oh, yeah, that's brilliant. We should take that advice and do it. Yeah, he's not a good speaker, guys. He's come a long way in that. It's not something you want to pile on that guy about. The GM needs to focus on the players, not where the money's coming from. He needs to be given a budget and go. There needs to be somebody else that handles the NIL. Adam Weitzman ain't saving Syracuse, guys. I don't know. I was laughing so hard yesterday.
If this is him, then yes. Yeah. You sure?
What? What's happening?
Watch your favorite ESPN Syracuse sports talk shows on QSportsTalk.com.
Riders on the Storm. Steve, you're struggling with your headset a little bit, it looks like. Look at Steve. Can't get his headphones figured out. You all right over there, kid?
We're good now, yes. Nobody needed to know that. Nobody needed to know that. I don't have my headphones. I was in such a rush to get out of the house.
It's a busy day. It's a
that
busy news day.
I forgot my laptop and I forgot my headphones. So Paul hooked me up here. All right, we've got a few phone calls here that we're getting to. Are we getting to Lee Baldwin here? We're going to take a caller first. Oh, let's go to Mark in California before we get to Lee Baldwin. Mark, what's going on today?
Hi, Steve. Mark, normally from Clay, but today calling in from beautiful Carlsbad, California.
What's going on, Mark?
Right in my old stomping grounds, Mark.
That's it. I haven't looked at that up yet, Paulie, but we'll see. I'm looking out at the ocean right now. Beautiful day here.
Nice. Could be worse.
Yeah, it certainly could. You know, us old retired guys have got life figured out. You're going to love it when you get here. Hey, couple of points that I want to make.
Yeah.
First of all, the one thing that I won't say I was surprised by, but a little bit disappointed by, was the announcement that Alex Klein is also being let go. You know, it's kind of funny. The same people on social media that are saying Red had talent this year but couldn't get them to perform also are saying now that we didn't have any talent on the roster. So I'm not sure how that checks out. But anyway, you know, Alex, the last few months, I'm sure, has been looking at potential portal targets, has been evaluating them in line with what SU's resources are going to be from an NIL perspective. He went into this year, and I thought he did a good job plugging the holes in the roster, given the resources that were available. We were looking for an athletic center. We got one. We were looking for some three-point threats. We've got those. We were looking for a legitimate point guard. We got that. They may not have all worked out the way we would have liked them to, but I think in terms of filling the holes in the roster, he did a good job. I don't know who the general manager is for South Florida, assuming Hodgson is the guy. But as I said, Alex has probably spent the past few months evaluating those targets in line with the resources available and putting a plan together to reconstruct the roster. That's all going out the door with him. And whoever comes in, whoever he or she is not going to have that knowledge. So, you know, that kind of leaves me a little disappointed. I'm not sure how this transition is going to work. I'm certainly hoping the rumors are true that we've got stupid money, because I think the smart money just went out the door.
Yeah.
The other point that I wanted to make in terms of a salary cap, you know, you look at pro sports that have a salary cap. And the NFL has a salary cap that says this is how much money the Kansas City Chiefs can afford to give Patrick Mahomes. It doesn't say this is how much money State Farm can give Patrick Mahomes or T-Mobile. So I think people are losing the point there that a salary cap can certainly control what the university puts out, and that's in place now. But the genie's out of the bottle. In terms of open market, true NIL, I don't see how that can be controlled. So that's it for today. I'm going to go out and enjoy the sun.
Enjoy it.
As you should.
In place and move forward.
Yeah, as you should, Mark.
If you see any of my family, tell them I say hi. My dad's out there. My brothers are out there. All right.
All right, Mark. Mark in California, out in Carlsbad. Before we get any further, we can certainly comment on what he said, Paulie, but let's check in. We're talking NIL and money. Let's check in with Mike at Lee Baldwin. Lee Baldwin and Company. Mike, what's going on? How's the market today?
Not so great, guys. Not terrible, but the Dow's down about 373 points. We've just been kind of waffling all morning. Not a whole lot of volatility compared to the last 2 weeks in the market, so I guess we'll take that. We do have a nice diamond, though. Oracle Corporation announced great earnings last night, or I should say better than expected, and the stock's trading up $14 to $163 a share, so that's almost 10%. Oracle, along with a lot of the other software stocks, have been under a lot of pressure the last couple of months, so good to see a nice bounce there. And plenty of dogs today, but we're going to go with the financials. We're seeing the continued weakness in Citigroup, JP Morgan, Bank of America. We've mentioned those in the last week, too. They've been really weak to start out the year, and that trend continues. And hopefully we can get this market turned around this afternoon and get a little rally in. So we'll see how it goes.
All right, Mike. As always, we appreciate the information and the time. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Lee Baldwin, all the diamonds, none of the dogs. Be sure to visit LeeBaldwin.com.
Steve, do you think we're too obsessed on like three names that Hopkins, Hodgson, GMAC? Like there's going to be other people that are interviewed for the job, right?
Yes. Do I think that we are too obsessed? That was the term you used.
Are we perseverating on three names and not looking at the field?
Yes, I think we all collectively are looking at these names. I think there's a reason that we're all looking at these names. Is it possible that somebody from outside that list could get the job? I think it is possible. I think we saw that with the football hire, right? That Fran Brown, was not on everyone's radar. Let's put it that way. I'm not even sure he was on John Wildhack's radar when the process started, but he won the job. If you're asking me, do I think it's going to be one of those three or the field? I would, if you told me I had to place a bet at the moment, I would say it's going to come from one of those three.
Why? Why? Because we've seen it all over social media?
I think it's more so than that. Again, I think, a lot of times it's not just the names. It's not just who fits the program. It's who wants those jobs as well. And and you've broken it down too, right? I mean, we've talked about this the last several weeks about all of the programs that are going to be open and all the jobs that are going to be open. So what's the pecking order? When the game of musical chairs ends, like when is it SU's time to select? And I think that those three are all guys that would very much want to come here.
Like, does the Syracuse fan base think we're the only people that think Brian Hodgson could be a very good head coach?
No, but again, Paul, I mean, I understand you're kind of playing devil's advocate here. No, but it seems like it is a good fit for Brian Hodgson. It's not just a good fit for Syracuse. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I think that's partly why, like Josh Schertz, like people in Syracuse look at it and say, that is a great fit for Syracuse. I'm not sure it's a great fit for Josh Schertz, and I think at the moment, right, and that's why I think that talk has kind of cooled down a little bit, or like Jared Calhoun, or like whatever coach you want to throw in there. Syracuse can be very attracted to that person, just like dating, right? Like you can be very attracted to someone, but in order for it to work, you need that person to be attracted back and be like, yes, I want to go out with you again. So
but if you're dating somebody, Steve, and you're a 6 or a 7 and a 10 comes, there's 10s available.
Well, yes,
you know what I mean?
This comes back.
Swipe the left.
Right. 6s are going to try to date 6s, or 7s are going to date 7s. But I think that's why, like the whole Syracuse with Brian Hodgson, I think it seems like it's a match, right?
But until Jerry comes a call.
Well, Jerry and Syracuse, or Hop and Syracuse, like those are obviously matches. And that's not to say that there aren't others, but I think there's a reason that those three, we keep coming back to those names, because it seems like there is absolutely mutual interest. Now, to your point, could it be Tony Skinn? Could it be Speedy Claxton? I know you're high on Speedy. It could be. I mean, those I think there are reasons to believe those could be matches as well.
Tommy Amaker.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think less so Tommy Amaker, but. I think that, and that's their job, right? That's the job of the search, is to identify those guys that would be good coaches and would have interest in coming here, and you interview them and you see who is the right man at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think everybody is like so focused on Hodgson. He is probably the second hottest name out there right now, and Syracuse is going to have to do something to get him. If other schools open.
Right, but again, you don't know what his priorities are or where he wants to end up.
Right. So you're going to have to up your NIL, and that's got to be provable.
But that's going to happen anyway. That's going to happen anyway, right?
But you've got to prove it to the next head coach. Whereas a school that's in the SEC that isn't Syracuse could say, "This is what we're giving you." Syracuse is probably going to be ballparking it year one for the head coach.
Ballparking, meaning giving them everything you can get.
We're going to get you what we can get you.
Yeah.
Whereas if LSU comes open and says, "Hey, we're going to give you $15 to $19 million for your roster," they can do that.
Yeah.
Smaller.
Yes. I think, and I've said this, I think year one, I think whoever the next head coach is, they are going to do everything they can to make sure this goes well. So, I guess
No, it's actually
Only they know
cool.
what that dollar figure
It's
is,
the
or
opposite.
what the
It's actually
definition of that is.
yeah.
But
I
I
think
think
we're
they're
in,
going
like,
to
the
pour
freezer
all
section.
of the resources that they feel like they can afford into making sure that this goes well.
It's just it's not as easy for Syracuse to come up with the money as other schools, and I know people don't want to hear that, but it's a fact that we've got to get used to.
All right. That brings us to the top of the hour, Paulie. We'll hit a timeout here. We're hoping to be joined by Jim Boeheim at some point. He's down there in Charlotte. He's in the same place you're in right now, correct? He's at the arena, so hopefully
he's on TV right now.
He's on TV right now.
He's going to do
hopefully we can make that
he's
happen.
doing his halftime hit, and then the Hall of Famer will be on us next.
Okay. All right. We hope to bring on Jim Boeheim. We'll start hour number 2 next on ESPN Radio.
Be sure to tune into Mike Bristol's
Like, they could be an assistant from a bigger school too. Like, I don't think we need to be so focused on 3 names. I tend to think the university wants to go outside of the Boeheim field. That's the buzz I'm hearing. Can I also address something that's been mentioned multiple times in our chat when we talk about the AD? Do people not know that Donovan McNabb's wife played basketball at Syracuse and graduated from Syracuse? Because they all refer to her as, why is Donovan McNabb's wife on the search committee for the AD? She played women's athletics at Syracuse. I will, Gabriel, you're damn right. I am gonna glaze whoever's coach is. People I talk to, LA Orange. I'm not gonna tell you names. You had no idea his wife was a... Yeah. They didn't just grab Donovan McNabb's wife to help the search for the next SU AD guys. Well, they got his mom from the Campbell Soup
especially
commercials.
if they were playing for Pitt, and the refs probably called the foul on. So they're on a flow to this game, aside from the fact that both teams were lights out from 3, which is how you end up with a game.
No, they're doing a show behind
100 to 102.
I'm in Radio Row. Yes, Roxy Nurse was there.
Mm-hmm.
Is it overpowering? Like the one year when we were in the hallway? Steve?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Especially early on, I actually thought State was
No,
being
now when we were
outplayed,
talking, but just
the one
now
thing
that we're
they
in
were
commercial,
doing,
I can kind of hear
whether it was Al Lubin, Kadir Copeland, they were taking it down low and drawing fouls on Pitt, and the free throw discrepancy really kept him in the game. I have it here in my notes. 7 free throw attempts.
I'll pipe down when Boeheim
20
shows
for
up.
State, and
Boeheim
it
will
was
probably come
more
at you guys
aggressive
harder than I
earlier.
do.
At one point, it was
Grandpa's about to come with
16-2 or
whooping
something along those lines in free throw attempts. So the free throws really kept State.
Another thing, people that is, I mean,
guys like Paul McNeil and a few others.
are people still, like, I'll talk about this on the air sheets. People are still talking about things that happened so long ago.
Like what?
I'll tell you. Who took my lunch? And you know what? I'm going to ask Jim Boeheim these questions.
It's really, you brought it up, right? Because part of me looks at it.
Oh, I would love to be the GM. I'd have to do what you guys say. You guys all hate me even more if I was the GM.
So I wasn't exactly expecting an onslaught barrage from deep from Pitt, but that's exactly what you got, right?
I'm in Radio Row. I don't have a private space.
And actually missed a handful down the stretch. So I at one point felt like they didn't miss on their first 12 attempts. So part of me is
it drowning me out?
No way Pitt's going to keep that up in the second half, right? Stays in a good spot.
I saw somebody mention in the chat Luke Murray. I would be surprised if they hired an assistant right now.
So
what?
maybe
Well, when you're on air, it's fine because we're off air. People hear it, but when you're on air, we don't hear it.
They just started, so.
The thing with Luke Murray, guys, is that, I mean, Wildhack said in his statement today, now could it change, I suppose, because it did with Fran Brown in terms of, he said it had to be at least a coordinator, and then he went with a guy who wasn't a coordinator, but he says in his statement, proven winner. He is a hot young name. I don't know that they would hire an assistant. I think they want somebody who's done it. They just hired an assistant. It didn't go well.
Yeah, I saw somebody
97.7 and 100.1. Watch live on QSportsTalk.com.
There's something fishy there. But I want to build off what you're saying. These aren't even like
Our days
jumpers like they're in warm-ups. Like
I was up till 1 o'clock last night, Steve. I'm not going to lie to you.
Tell both teams are getting frustrated and probably chewed out by the coaches during dead balls.
The Twitter had me going.
The 3-point line.
So people are still complaining that Quincy Guerrier left
on the 3 because you can see.
Really? No, I did not know that.
Yes, this all happened when Quincy Guerrier left, Kadari Richmond left,
teams are knocked down.
And they let Q walk, and they just let Malik Brown leave.
Yeah, kicked him out the door.
They threw him out.
Kicked him out the door.
Mm-hmm.
It's bonkers to me. Quincy Guerrier did I'm going to ask Coach that question. He didn't want to rebound. He wanted to shoot threes, so he went somewhere that was going to let him shoot threes.
Yeah, went 2 other places where he let him shoot
They didn't force Kadari out. Kadari didn't like battling for his position.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he went to Seton Hall. He was in college for 50 years.
I see where you're going with it.
Those had nothing to do with the Coach Autry era.
Right.
Zero. If you think Red Autry coached any way like Jim Boeheim, you're bonkers with that too. People were Vito just called it and said Red didn't call out plays. Boeheim was screaming at officials. The practices were different. The travel was different. Everything was different.
Last ranked team.
Man-to-man defense. It was a different program under Red Autry.
To come join us here in Charlotte. So,
all right, let's get a phone call in here, Paulie, as we drive into our second hour, brought to you by Burdick BMW of Cicero. We've got Stefan and Utica kicking us off in the second hour. Stefan, what's going on?
Well, hello, Paulie and Steve.
Stefan, how are you?
It was expected that Coach Red Autry would be dismissed or let go, and they need to make the right hire for the next men's basketball head coach, and someone that can be there a while like Coach Boeheim was, and get the program back on its feet.
Yeah, I mean that's the $1 million question right now is who they're going to get, who's going to lead them back, and as we've been saying, Stefan, it's got to be more than just the new head coach. It's got to be the resources. It's got to be a full team effort to get this program back to where it once was, Paulie.
I'm not glazing the guy because he's going to be on a show in a minute here.
Unacceptable loss
if you guys expect the next coach to be Jim Boeheim, Jim Boeheim's what, number 2 or 3 on the all-time wins list? Like, the Jim Boeheim ain't walking through that door.
Yeah.
That ain't happening again. If you think you can get to that level again, yes, they can. Is it going to be as consistent in where we want it to be at Syracuse in the NIL era? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think anybody knows where this is going. But it is a critical time for the program. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And it's been a 5-year drought. You can't let this turn into an 8-year drought. You got to get this right now and get this figured out. That's why I said whoever they bring in, they are going to prop up that coach as best they can with every bit of resources to put a competitive team on the court and to win and get back to the tournament. And it came up yesterday on the show about what is the expectation in year one. I think Mario asked that question. What's the expectation in year one? I don't think it's any doubt, Paulie. The expectation is you got to get back to the tournament. This program needs to be back in the field of 68.
we talk about that like it's easy.
Right.
You gotta win. You gotta get to the tournament, and that's every school's goal. And you're going up against every school in the ACC. And, it's not easy. You just gotta find the right guy, and hopefully they're already working on it.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. All right. While we're waiting on Jim Boeheim here, let's. Why don't we take another time out? We try to get back on time. We were a segment behind, so we'll take a time out here in early on in hour number 2. Phone lines remain open if you want to check in at 315-437-7644. Back after this on ESPN Radio.
This is Orange.
Yeah, Coach Boeheim said UVA is winning this year because of NIL. They've got a good coach, but they've got a lot. They upped the NIL this year. He's not wrong. They are on Duke level NIL right now. I was dying. Like they do the famous alumni from all the schools, Steve. Up on the big board. I wish Syracuse fans could just come and sit, because as Syracuse was going through, it was like Eileen Collins, Mike Tirico, Joe Biden, who's probably got a lot of millions of dollars. But when they got to SMU, it was Charles Schwab, the creator of Bumble and Instagram, and I was like, Jesus. I think they were just doing a halftime hit for that show behind us. So
that was a well-timed break then.
Yeah, they couldn't put us in a smaller room with a bunch of people talking.
Great design.
We might as well be in the same bathroom cell.
Yeah. Might have thought this wasn't bad.
Spatching Louise would like to know if Diet Pepsi, chain smoking, and serial gooning basically stunted my growth. No. My dad's the same height as me, and my mom was like 4'11". Chain smoking probably didn't help, and the amount of booze I partook in probably didn't help either. The gooning, I'm actually blind because of that. What happened? Can we discuss something other than red next, Steve? I want to ask you a question.
You want to ask me a question? Okay. I'll be ready.
You be. When did the term gooning start? I had to Google that. Because I was watching, you know how like Steve probably won't acknowledge this, but if you scroll on Instagram or TikTok, there's gonna be a hot chick that pops up every once in a while, and this girl goes, "I met your son." She's this guy came up to her and said, "My son goons to your videos," and I had to look at what it was. If I was in the Goonies, I'd be Mouth. Goonies is a great movie. I have a Goonies poster hanging in my new loft. I have the original movie poster. Why am I trying to get myself fired? Steve's mortified right now. Would I date a man or a woman shorter than 4'11"? Depends on her personality.
All right, Paulie, we got a couple calls here.
Coach is here now, so
okay.
Coach here.
Okay.
Yeah, give me a second to get the camera set up here if we can.
All right.
Oh, Galaxy. Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
No, I'll just say scores ours for the day. We've got the Doors as our artist of the day, and we're about to send it back out to Charlotte, where Paulie is standing by with a very special guest. Paulie, you with the Hall of Famer? Is he in place?
Yep, I am here with Jim Boeheim. And Coach, I'll start with the first question. Can you hear Steve okay?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah,
great to see you, Coach. Thanks for coming on.
Just your thoughts on the Adrian Autry era.
Well, the whole problem in coaching, you're always responsible. The head coach is responsible. We had a couple bad years at my end of mine. Like you're responsible. I mean, it doesn't matter. Jesse Edwards got hurt, so that cost us a tournament. That's just the way it works. But I think the coaches that have been fired in the league, Boston College, Syracuse, and Georgia Tech, have the lowest NIL budgets. Now, it's no coincidence the top 4 NIL budgets in our league are in first, second, third, and fourth place. So it comes down to NIL, and then it comes down to how your team plays. I think the one thing with Adrian this year, and he's not going to say this, and people will think I shouldn't say it, his 2 best players had bad years. They had bad years on offense. They had bad years on defense. And if you take Cameron Boozer and Isaiah Evans and they have bad years at Duke, Duke doesn't win the games they won. They win 20 instead of 30. Those guys had great years. Your best 2 players have to have great years. And that didn't happen. The head coach held responsible in those situations, and we all understand that. That's what it's about. Jeff Capel's a really good coach, I think, in Pittsburgh. Hasn't won enough, has a low budget, and, you're talking about him being fired now. It's interesting, Pittsburgh has $15 million to pay him off, but they didn't have $3 million extra to give him NIL money. And, that's how that stuff works. But, it's a crazy world out there. I'm just so happy for Jerry McNamara to win the tournament without 2 of his best players. 2, one for the whole year and the other one for a couple of weeks. And to win that tournament, they were 4-28. He's winning and going to the NCAA tournament. And he got calls from Boston College and Georgia Tech as soon as he lost the game, as soon as he won the game last night, which is interesting. And I kind of laughed a little bit because he said, well, we have to have an outsider. Well, Jerry McNamara is outside. He's coaching Siena. He's getting his reputation based on what he's doing at Siena. Not that he was a good player at Syracuse or not that he was an assistant coach at Syracuse. He was outside the program. And what he's done is, I would say, probably the best tournament in college basketball this year. And not to even think about Jerry McNamara is, that would be malpractice.
Coach, can Syracuse get to the level of NIL that these other schools are at?
Yeah, we can. I've tried to help, and I think we'll try to continue to help. I think that the new chancellor understands that. I think Mike Haney, the new chancellor, has a good understanding of athletics. He's been a great fundraiser at the university, both at the Whitman School and the military building, the Daniel building. So yeah, I think he understands that, and I think we can get there. We just haven't got there yet, and that's what we have to do for football and basketball. I think Fran Brown's an excellent recruiter. He's a football coach. He's resources. Football's crazy. It's not what people are talking about, Syracuse. It's not 21 months. It's 35 big. That's what the big time schools are paying. 40. And the basketball is 15, 10 to 20. Some at 20, some at 15, some at 10. That's the reality. That has not been published anywhere that I've seen or talked about in Syracuse. I've talked to every ACC coach this year. I've got an idea of what every program has. And, it's in which schools are at the top are above 10. You can do it a little less, but it's not easy. It's very difficult. You got to be a little lucky to do it. But I think Syracuse can and will get there because Chancellor Henning wants to have the basketball. He wants to have a football program. I think we have a really, really good coach in football, and I think he's a really good recruiter. He's got the resources he needs to be successful. And I think the Mariners basketball coach needs to get those resources, and I think they will be successful.
Coach, you talk about all the money involved right now with NIL and whatnot, and I think we all look at it and, we say, how did it come so far so fast, and where does it end? Is this sustainable? And if not, not like Syracuse aside, I'm just saying college athletics in general, what do you think is coming down the road? Do you think there will be like a salary cap someday? There will be a cap of some sort, you think, Coach?
Yes, there will be. Congress has to make that move. I've heard recently that is a pretty good possibility now. But when you say about sustainable, Steve, this was said five years ago. It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And guess where we are now? It's still going, and people are still coming up with the money. Alumni want to win. And when you give them the opportunity to get players, once you open that door, and this is what I was afraid of from the beginning. Jay Billis said, well, it's good for players to get this, or T-shirts or speaking. Yeah, that's true, but it's going to go past that, and it's gone way past that, obviously. And that has to be federal legislation. The salary cap, there has to be a contract, there has to be. It's pro sports. I just talked to Carlos Boozer last night. I said, Carlos, imagine if the NBA had a restricted over. Shea would get $100 million to play. That's what would happen. So someone would say, well, I get that guy. And you have to have contracts. You have to have this. You have to have some kind of controls. And it takes federal legislation to do that. That's what football players, employees, make everybody employed. Too much money, too many things that are coming up to play do that. So they have to get a solution. I think it will come because people are starting to hire players are starting to say, I got to do something. But we also can't do what somebody said last week, go back to the Rick Rose. That's never it. Of course, we've never allowed that. So players got to get money. They're going to get money. It's just going to be regulated. I mean, if players were only able to get $25 million or something like that, that should be enough. Scale it back. Instead of football players getting $7 million that they are now for, they get 15, they get 12. Basketball players get 6, something.
Coach, when you look at where Syracuse basketball goes from here, what would you like to see in the new head coach, the next head coach, the leader of this program?
Well, first of all, you don't get something inside. Get the best. That's what we do. Doesn't matter what. So get the best coach you can. That's what we're trying to do. I mean, he was looking in the end in football. They got the best coach they could find. Put the league and got the coach terrible. We got a good coach. He's winning. It's a simple formula. This is not rocket science. It's hire the best coach you can, favor the winner, and give him the resources to win. That's what everything. And nobody knows how that is. I mean, whenever you hire a coach, it's a great coach or you get a coach that flops. Just look to try to make the best you can.
You know, Coach, I'll ask you the same thing about an athletic director. Obviously, John Wildhack stepping down. There's a search that's going on right now to identify that next person. Mike Haney's in charge as chancellor, and I know that you've endorsed his promotion within the university. Where do you stand on an athletic director? What are you looking for in the next leader of the athletic department?
Obviously, it's got to be fundraising, but the most fundraising has to really come from the university. People that raise money for the university has to have it. It can't be just an athletic decision. People think that they have to hire an athletic director that they raise money. The whole university has to be behind this to raise money. For years, we didn't raise money. So we have to start. So but this is a decision that McCain has to make. He has to figure out the next thing. So he'll be on that. It should be him and him alone side. Mike Haney is going to be held responsible for who's hired. So he needs to make that decision. And then the athletic director and Mike Haney not to decide. Doesn't need to be me, it won't be me. It shouldn't be trustees, or it shouldn't be people with money. It should come from those two people. So that's what should make this entire cover on that knows that and knows he should be. And ultimately, Mike Haney is going to be responsible for all our and the penalty is and the penalty responsibility. Then they do it and be able to have an opportunity to get to the candidates. That's something that there's a time process on this because you have the pool. So it's open all year, but it's really open now that people are making contact with players right now. So that has to be done in the 10 day to get everything done.
Yeah, and that was my last question. That's where I was going next, was just on a timeline, Coach. Do you think we will have the next AD in place in the next week or so? I mean, do you have a feel for the time frame? As you said, they got to move swiftly here.
I've said many times, I've never hired anybody here, and I've never fired anybody here. My opinion's asked for, I give it, but I'm not, I have no say in the next athletic. That's more expenses, that's going to come from the chancellor. He decides on it. That's what it should be. He's the one to be held responsible for it. I think we'll get a good coach. I really do. I think there's good prospects out there, good candidates. And Syracuse is in good basketball. Yeah. Anybody that doesn't know that doesn't understand basketball. We still have, we're only 6th in the country in tennis this year. That's more than 342 schools in tennis. And I think our fans will be there. Obviously, we have to be better. So it's a massive rebuilding job in terms of who stays. Virginia brought in a whole new team. They kept rolling next year. Second in the conference, the top 10 in the country. So it's the portal area. Is the one. It's the portal area, and you've got to get going. Turn it around. That's not fast.
Coach, there's another question I had for you that's kind of I don't know if it's a misconception or not. It's, what was the hiring process for Coach Autry? There's kind of this story that you are the all-powerful on the university.
I had no say in this. I never did. I had no say. It was done by the athletic director. I thought at the time, and still do, I thought it was the right choice. Got good players. I thought he did that as a head coach. I thought they did a good job adjusting to the portal. thought they had really talented players this year that didn't play well. We can blame the other folks if we want to. I don't. I just don't think that's been this season. I think again, the two best players we got to play well for. People will now criticize office play with something. Facts are the facts. Coach does take responsibility. That's why I'm coaching. But I think they would say the same thing. They would say, we didn't play with them. And that's the fact. But can Adrian got hired was the right choice. I think Terry McNamara, but I have a lot of experience and better food area. I thought I called CNN 10 times and talked to the president 4 times. As I said, this guy can coach. Can I come free? I said, this guy can coach. And obviously his move led to be more than true. He's been called over by 2 or 3 schools. It just won last night. But that's the way these schools are too. Jerry lost last night. Those 2 schools won't call him. He's still the same coach. But, that's the way it works in college. People are in college. It shouldn't be related to that. It should be, well, is this guy the best coach? Some guys win tournaments and they're not that good coaches. That's how coaches get hired, basically. Minor league, that draws attention to. Adrian was the right choice. It just hasn't worked out. Explain the reasons. They are what they are.
All right, Coach. Thanks for your time. Steve, you got anything else?
No, I just, you said something a moment ago, Coach, that, Syracuse is still a coveted job, and I think we know why it's a coveted job. The man most responsible for that for 50 years is you, and so keep doing what you're doing. We appreciate the insight. We appreciate you coming on, and be well, and we'll talk again soon, Coach.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Steve. Thank you.
All right. The Hall of Famer, Jim Boeheim, joining us here on the show. We'll take a timeout here. We'll get to more of your phone calls next on the other side. We're back after this on ESPN Radio.
What do you think? Pretty good?
Yeah.
I think we summed it up the way it is.
Yeah, apparently.
See how it. I don't see how it survives, really.
Check. You got me. I don't know why his mic didn't sound good on it. Could you understand it?
It was fine on the radio. It was fine in my headset. I think it was a Twitch issue. Yeah.
It's definitely his, but it's weird that just his mic was what they couldn't understand.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe it was I don't know. Did it sound bad? I wish I could check the YouTube chat.
David, you got to flip him. Put Paulie on the screen. Yeah, YouTube was saying that it wasn't great either.
That's weird. He's a soft talker. But yeah, it was. Let me get my mic. He sounded fine to me. He sounded fine everywhere, but over this over the video. Hey, if something like that happens again, like if we see things like that, grab Tim Backer, the actual like Galaxy engineer, and maybe while it's happening, we could try and fix it. But I don't know what it would have been. Yeah, I'm on for another 30 minutes. So it's fine.
I'm still trying to do it on Wi-Fi. It's strong.
Unhearable. Yeah, it was good. It'll be up. Hopefully, did it sound bad over the vMix?
Yeah, we're gonna try something. Hopefully we'll be able to get it up. If not, it will be posted to
audio-wise.
Yeah, SoundCloud and all that, because it sounded great over the radio.
Yeah,
honestly.
okay.
So I'm gonna go.
Yeah. Once it gets to the video, I'm stupid. So I apologize, guys. And it's weird. It was just his mic.
There he is.
Yeah, I mean, you sounded all right.
It was just his mic on, and only on video.
They were saying that like it was going through your mic almost.
No, it would clear. It definitely wasn't, because he sounded fine in my ears and to you guys, right?
Yeah, he sounded great.
So yeah, there's there was either a bandwidth issue going to
So he said, Jim Boeheim said that following the game that Jerry was reached out to by BC and Georgia Tech. Did I hear that correctly?
He said
yes.
Like 5 minutes for us.
But then he switched it to.
Then he switched it to what?
Then at the end he said 2 schools.
2 schools. He realized it.
I think
And now let me welcome onto the field the 68 Jerry McNamara, fresh off the taking Siena back to the NCAA tournament. G-Mac, you're on the bus back home from Atlantic City right now. You got a lot of sleep last night. It looks like well rested. One of the best night's sleep you've had in a while.
Yeah, it may have been a compression thing going. I don't know what that setup is, guys. I'm the engineer of the basketball games. I'm not like a actual engineer. But yeah, I apologize for
ESPN 97.7 and 100.1.
Should have flipped to the
Watch
radio.
live on QSportsTalk.com.
Welcome back to Orange Nation. Paulie Sibilia in Charlotte still, Steve. I stayed one extra day. Jim Boeheim joined us. I apologize to our video viewers. Apparently he did not sound great on the video, and that will be up on for people to hear on our social medias, and QSportsTalk.com will have it also. So hopefully it'll be fixed if you'd like to go back and listen to it. If not, Steve, you're going to be stuck with no video.
All right, that's okay. That's okay. We heard him loud and clear on our end. I think it was an issue, unfortunately, on QSportsTalk.com. Let's go back to the phone lines. John in Liverpool is up next on the show. John, what's going on?
Yeah, I thought a great interview with Coach Boeheim, and I want to make a comment about the people that want outside the house or inside the house. Certainly, you could go outside the house and get good quality coaches and turn the program around. But I think that some of these people that want us to go outside the house are Boeheim haters. Jim was not Mike Krzyzewski. He ranked a lot of people, he's not warm and fuzzy. And I think that some of these people that want to go outside the family are just Boeheim haters. So, but I thought that was a great interview. He speaks his mind. It's unbelievable. What some of these colleges are paying, and I am all for some kind of rules and regulations, whether it's a salary cap or whatever they come up with. I saw that Nick Saban met with Donald Trump a couple days ago. I don't know, and I think there were other football bigwigs that were there too. I don't know what they discussed or if anything came out of it, but there has to be some solutions. It's good. It's like the Wild West. I think Jim called it the Wild West or whatever. I support some kind of rules and regulations to control this chaos.
Yeah, I mean, something's got to change, right, moving forward, and we just don't know when or how or, where it's going to all end up. I don't think anybody could have predicted when this started that it would have gotten to this degree, but, yeah, I mean, I think so many of us would be in support of regulations or a cap of some sort to try to even out the playing field, but, Paulie, these are the rules right now they're playing by, and, they got to be able to figure out the situation at hand until it does change, and then you adjust to that. But right now, the rules are the rules, or lack thereof, and you got to figure it out.
Yeah, it's I think Syracuse is behind where everybody wants them to be, and they've got to figure it out. And I don't know who's going to do it. The AD is going to come in. They're going to hire the next coach. I don't know what can be done. It's just got to be right. The AD's got to be right. The head coach has got to be right. The players have got to be right. The NIL's got to be right. I don't envy this. This is a full reset, and you can't be wrong on any of it.
Yeah, and Jim Boeheim didn't want to offer up a timeline, but again, I think we all can see the writing on the wall that it's got to come quickly, right? The athletic director, the news on a new AD has got to be soon, sooner rather than later, whatever that means, because they got to get down to business in terms of hiring a new coach. So, and transfer portal and all that. And, now the window opens up a little bit later than it has after the Final Four officially. But to Jim Boeheim's point, guys were already figuring out where they're going to go, or at the very least, if they're leaving, what their options are. They're looking into all that right now. So you got to move quickly. John Wildhack, again, in his release today, in part said, quote, we are going to move quickly and with a purpose. And, they want to get this thing done, I would think, with both an AD and a new head coach sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and can I address one other thing with Jim Boeheim? Yeah, I know he set the bar and everything. It even got asked yesterday in Red's last press conference of, what did Coach say to you before the game and what did Coach say to you after the game? I think there's this misconception that he's just floating around at Syracuse and ruling everything. I've been to multiple practices in the 3 years Coach Autry was there. I think I saw him there once, and it was, I think, prior to the day they named the street and everything after him, Jim Boeheim Day. I think that was the only day I saw him there. He isn't pulling strings. He's raising money, and he's, I think he realizes he's got to raise more money. So, yeah, there's this misconception, he didn't talk to Red prior to every game or anything like that. Coach is working for the ACC network. He's got to prep for every team. He's got a job.
Yeah. Yes. All of that. Is he still connected to the program, and plugged in? Of course he is. But to your point, he's plugged in on everybody across the conference. And, oh, by the way, he talked about, kind of knowing what everybody's payroll is, for lack of a better term, in terms of the NIL. And again, I think we're all in agreement. I talked to Kevin Connors earlier today at ESPN, and he's in the industry. He's in part of the national media. He's plugged in with a lot of coaches and analysts, and he's got a middle of the pack, and it sounds like, with what Jim Boeheim was saying, that he's got him right there as well. And they got to figure that out, and they've got to get, they got to move up a little bit in the NIL game, and I think they will next year. But it's got to translate into wins and losses and getting this program back to the tournament.
And breaks.
I think we're back on time. Are we not, Paul? Yeah, No, we're one behind? Okay.
Let's take a time.
We'll take a time out here. We got some people on hold, so why don't we take a time out here? We'll get to more of your phone calls on the other side. We'll keep this thing going, even if we run a little late today. We're back after this on ESPN Radio.
Did you miss drive time?
I'm going to disconnect and connect again. I'll try the old Spectre.
I thought we took an early break in the second hour, got back on time. Then we did Boeheim. We took a break. Okay. All right. So this is okay. So we're about 10 minutes behind. Okay. All right.
Why does Steve have a suit on? It's because he.
Because I've been on the air at Channel 9. I was on the air for Bridge Street. I was on the air at the top of the noon doing a live hit, and yeah.
The guy by the field, the 68 gets better guests than we do, Steve.
Why? Who'd they have?
They got Jerry McNamara on right now.
They do?
I see Jerry in the video. Yeah. Is the audio better now?
You're fine. Yeah.
Well, they were saying I was unaudible too, or inaudible. Unaudible. I think they get mad if I wave to him and this got on camera. Is the audio still bad on video, guys? Sorry, I apologize.
You sound good. You sound fine.
We are broadcasting from a tiny little room in the basement. Yeah, I don't know. He might just be, I don't know what else. I think it was, I think the powers that be at Syracuse took over the broadcast and blocked him out. Conspiracy theories. It sounded fine to me and Steve. That's weird, just you guys. Yeah, no, it was state run. The state blocked Jim Boeheim's words out. Yes, it's the minimum wage good. Caper, are you just ever not a dick? Your life is a disaster. The basketball team won, and you couldn't hear a coach talk. I'm sorry that happened to you in your life.
Who was the call to?
All right. Well, we'll just take these calls anyway. You went black. Yeah, you went black on us. Yeah. Orange Pride. I'm sorry. I was going through emails. As you can imagine, today's been a very busy day. But what do you want to talk about? What would you like to? We can talk here. I'm back. In terms of the Boeheim, interview, we are working on it to try and fix it for the web. So stay tuned for that.
Watch your favorite ESPN Syracuse sports talk shows on QSportsTalk.com.
Yeah, well, our other can clean it up. It's everything on my end is going to be.
All right, the Doors are the artist of the day. Oh, we got Paulie back with us now, coming to you live from the Spectrum Center down in Charlotte. I'm here in our Galaxy ESPN radio studios in Armory Square. Paulie, you still doing okay down there?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm texting Jerry McNamara right now saying he's big time in us, that he's on the field of 68, not our show right now.
All right, let's go to the phone lines. Jeff and Oswego up next on the show. Jeff, what's going on?
Hey, it's all about GMAC today up here in Oswego. Hey, listen, GMAC was a certified rock star in his time at Syracuse. If anybody ever listened to his show, couple years ago when he was on the radio, the GMAC show. That guy talks about basketball like it's a chemistry lab. I mean, this guy knows X's and O's. I'm so tired of hearing this outside the family, inside the family stuff. I say, let's give Jerry the keys to the Ferrari. Okay, maybe the keys to the Camaro. It's probably a Camaro now, but let's give him the keys to the Camaro and let him bring it back to a Ferrari. Okay, guys?
Let's get him a DeLorean. Why not do a DeLorean and we go back to the heyday?
Go back to the future.
Like for the people that aren't watching a video, GMAC was just on the field of 68 taping an interview, and he's probably one of the hottest names in coaching right now. You got to be at least lucky that he's available for Syracuse. He's on the list.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for sure he's on the list. And I think, last night winning that game made this a lot. There's a much greater chance this might happen now. Let's put it that way, Paulie. Given that victory last night, and his profile has been elevated again. If you didn't hear our Jim Boeheim interview, Jim Boeheim said on our show just a short time ago, earlier this hour, that Jerry's already been contacted by 2 ACC schools since the win last night, BC and Georgia Tech. Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
That is wild that he's been contacted by, like, if that's true that Jerry's been contacted by 2 ACC schools already outside of Syracuse, it's bonkers.
Let's get one more phone. Well, we got a couple more phone calls here. Parker in Long Island's up next on the show. Parker, what's going on?
Hey guys, big fan. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
I'm just fascinated by the debate outside hire versus family hire. I personally just want the best candidate possible.
Amen.
I think Hodgson is the perfect hire. But I just wanted to talk about GMAC. He definitely earned the right to be in the conversation after last night. I just think it's unfair. If he does end up getting the job, he's just going to have unfair expectations placed on him just because he's a Boeheim coaching tree guy.
Yeah.
If he gets hired and doesn't make the tourney in the first year, it feels like he's gonna lose all the patience of the fans. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that, the unfair expectations that would be placed on him if he does get the job, and why would he even want the pressure if he has things rolling in Siena right now? Thanks, guys.
Well, to answer the second part first, why would he want the pressure? He's doing great there, but obviously I'm sure his goal is to move up, and he is a hot name right now. He just won the conference title. He's going to the NCAA tournament in year 2. And, the fact that BC and Georgia Tech reached out to him gives you an idea that he can move up in the world if he wants to. In terms of the unfair expectations, yeah, I mean, I think that's an accurate statement. I think he would come in here with very, very it's a difficult spot for him to walk into. But, I think if anybody can handle it, I think Jerry can handle it. And I think we've seen that over time, that he is a winner. I mean, we talked about that at the top of the show, right? That, he's had a plan. He went to Siena with a plan. He executed that plan perfectly. And now 2 years in, we're talking about this as though it's a strong possibility. And I think it is, given the fact they won the MAC conference title last night, Paulie.
Right.
He's absolutely got to be in the mix after this run.
And the unfair pressure is going to be on the next head coach, whether it's in family or not. The fan base is fed up. If the new guy doesn't get there the first year, they're going to be ticked again. And it doesn't matter if it's Jerry or Hodgson.
Yeah, I think that, well, let me ask you this. Do you think that fans, would have more patience with someone like...
No.
No, you think that it's...
No, well, year 1 is going to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
For anybody. Now, will it sting a little more if it's Jerry? Yeah, because you don't want him to get what happened to Red. But the fan base is going to be as angry no matter who the coach is going to be.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. Yeah, it's a tough spot. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I address something else? And I'm going to use this as a Hodgson example and a Jerry example. Like, people are like, well, do we want the MAC champ? Like, do people realize that Jerry has MAC players playing against MAC players? In the American Conference, Hodgson has American Conference level players playing against that level.
Yeah.
It's not like Jerry has some advantage that, he's only beating Merrimack. Who cares? Yeah, he's doing it with that level of player.
Yeah.
There isn't like There's a huge difference, guys. The fact that I'm explaining this right now, I just felt stupid that I had to explain that to people.
Although I don't know if Gavin Doty's going to be a MAC level player next year.
Yeah, someone's going to pay him.
Yeah, somebody's going to pay him. He is, man, he's phenomenal. I don't know if you watched the game last night, Paulie, or them at all this year, but he does everything. He defends, he scores, he rebounds. Things got a little shaky toward the end of the game. He just took over down the stretch. He is very, very impressive. And I heard Jerry say yesterday that he's not sure he's ever coached a player that is more him than Gavin Doty, meaning, I think he said he's a psycho, is the way he put it, in terms of how he wants to win. He's always in the gym. He's always working hard. And, he reflects his head coach, right? Gavin Doty reflects his head coach, and they've been fun to watch. It's such a remarkable story. Let's go to Brian in Kentucky. He's up next on the show. Brian, what's going on?
Hey, guys, love your show. Don't always get a chance to listen to it live during the workday, but I love watching all your content on YouTube at night. You guys get me through the season, so thanks for taking my call.
Of course.
I just wanted to say I think Jerry McNamara is unfairly getting looped into this Boeheim coaching tree, which seems to have a negative connotation right now. I think Jerry is his own man. He is clearly carving out his own coaching style. And if you watch the game last night or you watch Siena play at all this year, it is a different style. He coaches differently than Adrian Autry. He coaches differently than Mike Hopkins. He even has a different style than Jim Boeheim. He has established himself as a coach. So I just think, this word Boeheim coaching tree has this negative connotation. We need to judge Jerry McNamara individually for how he is as a coach. I think he deserves that. And what I saw in the game last night were a lot of great adjustments. He had great halftime adjustments. And at the start of the game, they had a clear plan on how to attack the zone defense, which was refreshing to see. There was a clear plan.
It was the third time he saw it, to be fair.
When it wasn't working toward the end of the first half, he fixed it up in the second half. So I just wanted to say that, hey, whether it's Jerry McNamara or Brian Hodgson or somebody else, just go out and get the best man. But just because McNamara is tied to this tree that may have negative implications, that shouldn't be a factor. He absolutely has to be in the mix. I'm not saying he's the right guy. I probably lean toward Brian Hodgson at this point. But Jerry's doing great, and he's on a great path. He's got to be considered.
And to that point, Brian, and Paulie, I'll let you respond just to play off the adjustments piece of that call. His best adjustment might have been made before the game was even played, and that was how they were going to go about defending Kevin Kennedy, the player of the year in that conference, Merrimack's best player and the best player in the conference. He was really tough to stop in those first two meetings. They switched up how they went about defending him, who they went about defending him with last night. They put a bigger guy on him, didn't really let him get to the basket or to the free throw line, forced him into a jump shooter last night, and that was a big difference in the game. But I know you want to respond, so go ahead.
No, I was just saying that he figured the zone out on his third try. I'm not trying to be a jerk about it, but he did lose to it twice. He won the most important one.
Well,
he made adjustments.
Yes, he made adjustments, but both those games were close. It's not like they lost by 20 points. It was an overtime game and it was a 4-point game, and they lost twice in close games to the best team in the conference, and then third time, you're right, they made some adjustments, and those adjustments got them off to a big lead, and then they hung on for dear life down the stretch and won the game. And go ahead.
I just want to address this again because it just came out. Cool, GMAC coaches the MAC, Hodgson at AAC, so let's do some basic research into the quality of each conference. Winning your conference is impressive, but it's kind of equals out, guys, when you look at the level of players. Like the AAC has a higher level of players, and he won his regular season conference by getting better players at that level and coaching them. Jerry is doing that at the MAC level. And he's going to move up. It's not hard to figure out. It means you're a good coach and you coach in your league and won it. And it will hopefully transfer to when you move up a level also. It's not rocket ship science.
Let's take one more phone call. Harry in New York's going to have the last word from a caller perspective on the show today. Harry, what's going on?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good.
So basically, my thought is it's more of, I guess I've just like created some fan fiction, but I think one that. Sorry, my dog is barking. Sorry.
No, we love dogs on this show.
Yeah. So basically, what my thought is, they knew the program, the athletics department. They knew Syracuse, not just in terms of wins and like not making the tournament, but they knew they were going to be in a hole with whoever replaced Jim Boeheim. They just knew that was going to happen. And I kind of think in stand-up comedy, if you do go to a stand-up show, what's called the bullet spot for the stand-ups is the second spot. It's the spot after the host. And it's considered the worst spot because the crowd isn't settled. The people are still ordering food. The energy isn't right yet. And it's just like the hardest spot to be successful at. And I feel like Adrian Autry just got the bullet spot. Like they were not going to have money for him. They eventually got it kind of okay by the end, but I think they intentionally gave it to him instead of Jerry because they knew Jerry was greener, and also, I mean, I'm not saying they did this like maliciously. I think they would have, loved Adrian Autry to be successful, but they just saw a higher ceiling in Jerry and didn't want to waste this period on his talents because they knew his upside might be higher. And if Autry was successful with a bad budget, then it's like, oh, awesome, win-win. But if he wasn't, then they don't potentially waste a really good young coach's, early career on a bad era. So that's just kind of what I feel like they did. And anyway, yeah. Also, I just feel like the fan base like the guys that are still angry at Autry, just shut up, man. It's just so frustrating to hear these people complain. He's gone. You don't have to be screaming in your car anymore. Just calm down, man. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys,
yeah, you're right. He knew that's a good way to end it. He knew he was gone a long time ago. We knew he was gone a long time ago. The fan base that was complaining knew he was gone a long time ago. And it was just, you were just screaming into the ether over something that was inevitable.
Yeah, and I mean, to get back to his point about that they didn't want to waste a good young talent in case things went wrong, I don't believe that's why Red got the job. I think Red got the job because he was here. Hopkins left. He was next in line. You looked at his recruiting, like he had recruited, Tyler Lydon and Chris McCullough and Jeremy Grant and, had developed guys, and they'd go, O'Shea Brissett went on to the NBA. And I think that he was, they named him associate head coach for a reason, and he was next in line. I don't think they hired him thinking that it wasn't going to go well and will save Jerry for 3 or 4 years down the road. But to the caller's point, that's kind of how it has worked out, right? Is that not that Red was a sacrificial lamb, but they put him out there. Maybe the maybe about it. The resources weren't where they needed it to be. He had the resources. It seemed like this year he didn't produce, and now he's out of a job, and now the job is open. And you got Jerry, who went away for a couple of years and has had success immediately, and all of a sudden, he has become a hot name in the conference / nationally, not just within Syracuse. And so, I think he's absolutely an option. I think he is, he's absolutely on the list. And let's see, Paulie, where this goes. It depends who the AD is. It depends, obviously on who else is available, who else they can get. All of that's going to be factored in. Who can bring in, the most NIL money with them and the resources and all that. But I think we've seen from Jerry, from the coaching aspect anyway, Jerry's a hell of a coach. And we knew that, but we've gotten confirmation now. And I think last night was even more confirmation, if we needed it, that he's a hell of a coach. So it's going to be a fascinating discussion as this whole thing moves along over the course of the next few weeks.
Yep. And Steve, a quick programming note for tomorrow, ACC coverage all day. If the new AD is hired tomorrow, I will volunteer myself to do a show between the two sessions of the ACC tournament tomorrow, and we can cover that so that it'd be around when drive time would be on. So, if not, no shows tomorrow.
Okay. That sounds good, and we'll double up the final break here. We're after 2:00. We appreciate everybody who checked in throughout the show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. For Paulie, I'm Steve. Enjoy the rest of the day, everybody, and we'll talk to you again in a couple of days.
Did you miss